Welcome to the Jill on Money Show. It's Friday. I'm so excited. It's the 14th of January. Mark knows Fridays are my favorite day of the week. Absolutely, positively the best day of the week. So we are here to try to take the mystery out of your financial life. How do we do that? We do that by answering your questions. You can go to our website, jillonmoney.com, and click the contact button. I promised you that we had a very, very exciting special guest star today. And so without further ado, let me bring on guest Karen Kranick, rhymes with panic, who is our website queen. Karen, what is it? Are we supposed to call you developer or what's the actual term? Designer? What do you do?
Sure. So I'm sort of a user experience expert and brand strategist, if you will. And I do work with a small team that is also a designer and a developer. And the difference is, I sort of like to say, is if you almost think like construction, like I'm sort of the architect, and then I work with a developer who actually builds the things and a designer who really makes it look good. And I guess Mark's role in this would be to put the content in there. And is he the interior designer of this? I don't know.
I don't know, Mark. What would you like to be? What role do you want to have on this? I'll tell you what I am. I'm the CFO. I just pay the bills.
And the CEO.
Yeah, that's true. I'm the CEO and the CFO. Mark, so what do you want to be? Do you want to be the designer?
Yeah, I like the interior designer. I'll take that.
I like that also. It goes right up into your sort of home design affect. It's great. So here's the coolest thing, and the reason why I wanted to bring Karen on. Karen is a listener of the program. Karen, how long have you been listening to us?
About a year.
And how'd you stumble upon us?
So my sister is a fan, and she had talked me into listening to it. I'm also interested in personal finance. And then another friend of my sister's also mentioned it. So I started listening.
And she was a caller.
Well, I just want to say, and so then you listened for a while, and then you were very bold. You're like, okay, I want to come on, right?
Exactly.
Was it a scary experience for you?
No, it was really nice. I highly recommend it.
Okay. So then what happened after that? We had this conversation, and then I think you emailed me and asked me about something about like, maybe you'd want to be like go work for a certified financial planner or something
Yes.
like that. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So, one of the things I've thought, since I like personal finance, I've also thought a lot about what I do for a living, which is design thinking, which is basically bringing certain processes to very specific processes to how you can actually create something out of nothing. And I was thinking in the digital space in my case, but I was thinking this could really apply to personal finance as well. So I had been thinking, like, wouldn't it be interesting to merge a career potentially someday? I wanted to learn more about like, what would it take for me to potentially maybe become a financial planner one day, but then also bring some of these techniques and sort of psychological techniques and design thinking techniques into both of those disciplines and see if there was a space for that.
What's the best way to kind of describe what you do to help users? Like, what is it that happens there?
So there's sort of three pillars to it. And the first one is user research. So actually talking to people directly, whether that's customers, and then it's also talking to, if you're the CEO and the CFO, like I talk to you folks too, and sort of think about what are the brand needs and what do the customers need too from whatever product or service is being offered. And then the second part of that is that I actually also work on the information architecture and the information design. So after talking to you, for example, we talked about, one of the goals that you had for the site was you obviously want people to be able to contact you. So when I think about that, then I start to think about, okay, how does that start to really manifest in reality on a website, for example? So like, where are we going to put that contact button, right? So that's the information architecture. And the third piece of this is interaction design, which is really thinking about, okay, is a person going to see this primarily on their mobile device? Are they going to see it on their desktop? Literally, how are they going to like thumb through it if they're on a mobile device? Like, where should the button placements be so that we can put something in front of them at the right time so that it's really easy for them to use. So it's really thinking about, all the way from the macro of a business and how it needs to function and what its goals are to what the customer needs, to getting that to where the rubber meets the road on where like interfaces actually happen.
So I think just to wind the clock back a little bit, with all due respect to anyone who's ever touched my website, and I thank you so much, we didn't know what the hell we were doing, right? Like over a very quick period of time, I had this website developed, I think, I don't know, back in, Mark, when did I actually leave? When did I leave .com? Like 2012, I think, or 2013. So I was an employee of CBS Interactive, and I left, and I was starting this website, and so I had this website designed. And then Mark and the Mad Russian redesigned it. When was that, Mark?
Probably like 2014, 15.
Right. Mark hated the old website, right?
Well, as I told you recently, I break this down in terms of numbers. The original website, when I first started working with you in 2011, on a scale of 1 to 10, I put it at about a 2. And then...
oh, my God. That's so mean. You're so mean to me. Okay, go on.
And then I think the Mad Russian and I... Really, the Mad Russian. I think he brought it up to about 6.
Okay, by the way, Karen, the Mad Russian is a friend of mine from CBS who was doing a side hustle of developing websites.
Yeah.
And so I hired him, young guy who is a first-generation American born to Russian parents. So that's why we call him the Mad Russian.
And then now I never give anything a 10 because I always want to leave room for improvement. So now I put it at around a 9.
Oh, Karen, can you imagine
like
how he's kissing your butt right now? It's ridiculous. So when you went to our website, Karen, I mean, you can be honest with us.
Yeah, really. What was your reaction?
What was your reaction?
So I thought one thing that was interesting is that the image that was you on there was actually sort of you. So there are a couple of things. So from a brand perspective, like you were actually sort of listening to someone talk on the image that was there. But in fact, you were like this person with a tremendous amount of agency, and then you actually tend to run these interviews. One of the first things I thought was, there should be more here that really shows your personality coming through and you as a very active participant in what you're putting out in the world. So that's from a brand perspective. Secondly, I would say that there just wasn't a lot of content that was immediately visible on the site. And thirdly, the navigation was quite long and it was a lot of verbs. So it was like, watch, listen, read. But that's a really high cognitive load for people. And cognitive load means it's just a lot to think about. So,
wait a second. That is so hysterical that you use that word. Hold on. Mark, have you ever heard that cognitive load?
No.
The reason why I love that is, of course, when I was designing it, it was all me. I was like, it's action. Like, let people read,
Sure.
Let them watch, let them do. But you're saying, look, there's a lot of competition for people's attention. The way that you and Mark figured it out, which is, podcast, blog, radio, video. It's so much simpler, actually. It really is. So that I love. Of course, I also was a little bit suffering in the beginning from, a little imposter syndrome because, I'm a career transitioner, right? So the picture that you saw at the top of the website was me interviewing a very storied economist, which means nothing to anybody else, but it meant something to me. Like, oh, you see
Sure.
that? I have interviewed, and he's been on the show a bunch of times, and I really like him, Mohammed El-Arian. And I thought it gave me street cred.
Well, what's funny is my wife knew that because she worked at the Fed. So she was like, oh, that's him. And I was like, I don't know who that is.
And I don't care. So Karen goes through this whole thing and sends me and Mark, I said to Mark, he says, that girl, Karen, she would do something for us, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, great, hire her. And he's like, oh, well, she's got a whole system. Like, she wants to go through it and did it. And you went through this whole, you were hired before I ever saw that deck that you prepared.
Really?
Yeah. Like, in my mind, because, Mark, are you more discerning than I am? Meaning that, in some respects, I feel like I'm like, okay, we're done. Let's move on. Let's hire. But Mark, I think, is more methodical. Were you sort of sold before, Mark, or not?
I think so. I know she's a professional. I know this is what she does for a living. So I didn't really have any concerns in that regard. So
you must be highly trusting.
Well, I think you and I are just, we're pretty good at sniffing out, the type of people that we want to work with.
That's true. That's absolutely true. So, Karen, now you can tell everybody the real Jill and Mark experience because, when you go through this, you do get to know people in a different way. So now the roles have been reversed, right? I gave you financial advice. Now you're giving me technical and web advice. So how was that for you?
It was a wonderful and seamless experience, truly. And I'm not just saying it. Mark has been phenomenal to work with. And I did want to call out, he did a tremendous amount of heavy lifting for this, because one of the things is that with your navigation, this is a sort of behind the scenes thing. And this is why we need developers to help us who actually, do the coding on the back end. But all of your content used to be on a single blog, even though it was, podcast or written or video, like YouTube video. The developer had to split those apart for better search engine optimization. And that's the invisible thing you don't see happening in the background, so Google can find you. But Mark had to actually help us move all of that content into those new blogs. Not only did he have to do a lot of work with us, he also had to run 2 websites at once, your old website and your new website, while we were transitioning over.
Will it make you feel better to know that I gave him an extra large Christmas bonus this year?
That does.
All right.
He deserved
Mark,
it.
was it enough, Mark, or not?
Oh yeah, it was a great surprise.
Every so often, I like to surprise him. I do things like that.
Last
with
year
him,
was a good year.
It was a good year in your household, right?
Yeah, last year, because you don't forget, last summer you gave me a surprise bonus too.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice of me. I have to see what that is. You know why? Because Mark, we just had this conversation with the guy. This pod will drop before that guy who is the insurance agent, right?
Yes.
So we just have this conversation. It'll drop next week. I think it's on our other podcast on Eye on Money.
No, it's still on Monday. On Monday.
Oh, okay. So on Monday, you're going to hear this conversation where I scold a guy. I'm like, don't be a pig. You got to pay people what they're worth. It was so funny because I kept saying to Mark, how much do I owe Karen? I want to pay her. I want to pay her. So you have to admit, Karen, I'm a pretty good payer, right?
Phenomenal. Yes. No, I mean, on all fronts, you two have been truly some of the easiest clients I've ever worked with.
That's good. That's good to know. So how are you feeling about it? How are you feeling about the website now? Do you feel like you want to keep coming back every year and do like a review and be like, no, I want to do something different? We'll pay you every year. But how do you feel about it?
I'd be totally interested in that. And I think, by the way, the photography you got was really spectacular. And I think it really gave a lot of insights into that brand piece we were talking about and your personality. So it was really nice to have that content to work with. And our designer, Patrick, and I want to call out Mike, our developer too. They really worked hard on this. Yeah, bringing it all together. I'm very pleased with it overall. I think there's always room for improvement. I actually agree with you, Mark. I like your idea of the 9, not 10. Because I think there's always things we can do. And I would imagine there's a lot of content we can add in the future, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The photography is by one of my best friends in the universe, Carrie Kehoe, Kehoe. I will say the only thing that I notice is that there's a lot of Jill's nose in this. I've said this in a prior podcast, but I'm just going to say it one time now. And otherwise, I'm very glad that the girls got into the show, right? I mean, that the dogs got in.
Yes.
I think, really good. Okay, so here's what we're going to have to add. Number one is we're going to have a new book. That'll be out next year. We'll keep doing this. We're going to I can't thank you enough for being a smart enough professional to say, hey, I want to go do this and I can help you. I know you have a job. So this is also like Karen's side hustle. So what if someone is listening and is like, I need a Karen. I need Karen to wave her magic wand, her user experience wand on me. You may not be able to take them on because you're busy, but let's say that's, maybe it's someone from the community. It'll be easy. And you bang out a couple of projects. How can they contact you?
Sure. I would love to always have conversations with people. I'm always open to that. So please find me at KarenKranack.com. I'll spell it. It's Karen, Karen. Last name is Kranack, KRANACK.com.
All right, Mark, any final words before should we let Karen ask a financial question? What are you going to do with all that extra money, your self-employment money?
Well, that's going towards our saved up for a down payment fund.
Oh, you're still going to do that?
Yeah.
All right.
He wants to be your neighbor, Jill.
You're going to come to the Upper West Side.
That's a goal. That's a definite goal. That's our preferred neighborhood.
Oh my God, we're going to hang out together. It's going to be great. And so, of course, when we were reviewing the website and we were coming to the end of the year, I was like, oh, let's make a date for January. Now we can't do that. But I presume that we will see each other in person sometime soon. Mark and Karen's team are invaluable, and This is just like one of those moments where I'm just so delighted to have a community like the one that we have built with everyone who listens. And so I just wanted to kind of give Karen props because it was, I don't know, random things happen when you ask people for ideas, and we always ask our listeners for their input. So thank you so much, Karen. It is really, I know that we're going to stay in touch because I'm going to make you do all this work on the website going forward, and we'll have more content and more stuff to do. But I do so look forward to meeting you in person and raising a glass to the new Jill on Money website. Maybe we'll even invite the Mad Russian wherever he may be.
It was a pleasure to work on it. It was a pleasure to work with both of you. And I really look forward to that. Thank you.
That's great. Mark, any final words for Karen?
No, I thank Karen immensely. She was a pleasure to work with. I echo everything she said. Patrick was great. Michael was great. Patrick is like a real Southerner, like the Louisiana twang. Michael, not so much. He's kind of, talks like us, but they were both great to work with.
Did anyone ever call you Special K when you were growing up?
No, I've gotten a lot of things, but not that.
Mark, I think we got it. Special K, the Mad Russian. Now we got Special K. It's a good thing. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for all the amazing work you did. Okay, so gang, do you have ideas about our website? Do you have content you want to give us? Do you want us to add things to the resource section? You got to help us out. We are only as good as you make us. That's what's clear. So go to the website, JillOnMoney.com, the Special K website, and hit the contact button. Wherever you are on that website, you can hit the contact button. That's the beauty of Karen, because she's like, wait a minute, people want to contact you wherever they are. Please, please, please let us know what we can do. Maybe give Karen a jingle. Maybe you can use some help on your own website. She's a delight. Anyway, we are very appreciative. It's Friday. That means we are going to tell you that our music is composed by Joel Goodman. Mark Talersio is the executive producer and the webmaster and everything else associated with me and my life. We are distributed by Cadence 13. Put your hands metaphorically on someone's back today. Grit, growth, grace. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.